The library of unwritten books. Dahlia had been shelving returns for 3 hours when the ladder trembled. Not from a loose rung, she'd checked, but from something deeper, like a held breath finally releasing. She looked up. Between a history of maritime knots and a complete gardener's almanac, a thin volume had wedged itself sideways. Its spine was the color of dusk in November. No title, no author. "That's not catalogued," she murmured, reaching for it. The book slid into her palm as though eager, warm, almost pulsing. She opened it. The first page was blank. So was the second, the third, fourth, fifth, until page 11, where a single sentence appeared, in handwriting she didn't recognize but somehow knew. "He never bought the ticket, so I never met him at the station." Dahlia's breath caught. She'd had that thought. Exactly those words. At 3:47 a.m. last Tuesday, after the second glass of wine, that she had promised herself she wouldn't finish. The door to the stairwell banged open. Her supervisor, Margaret, stood there with a clipboard and a face that said, "I found a problem, and it's you. Stack 7 is a mess. Fiction's been reshelved wrong again." Dahlia said, "I'll fix it." Margaret squinted at the book in Dahlia's hands. "What's that?" "Nothing. Just someone's diary, left on a table." "Donate boxes in the back." Margaret turned and clumped down the stairs, leaving behind the smell of peppermint and disappointment. Dahlia waited. Then she slipped the book into her cardigan pocket and took the back staircase to the sub-basement, past the microfilm readers no one touched, past the boiler room's low hum, to a door marked "Private, Staff Only, Authorized Personnel." She'd never gone through it before, but tonight the book in her pocket felt like a key. The door opened without a sound. Inside was a room that couldn't exist. The ceiling rose into darkness. Shelves stretched in all directions, but not wooden ones. These were veins of light, shelves of soft gold thread, and on each shelf sat a book. Some were thin as matchboxes, others thick as encyclopedias. All had spines that gleamed faintly, like embers. And at the center of the room, a long oak table, and on it, a ledger open to a fresh page. The heading read, "Received this night, from the Unwritten collection. Keeper's signature required." Dahlia set her book on the table. It opened itself to page 11, then to page 12, where a new sentence had appeared, still wet. It read, "So I stood on the platform anyway, alone, watching the 947 depart without me. You're not supposed to be here." She spun. A woman sat in a high-backed chair she could have sworn was empty a second ago. She wore a librarian's cardigan, navy blue, with elbow patches, but her eyes were the color of old vellum, and she wasn't blinking. "I'm sorry," Dahlia said. "The door was unlocked." "This door is never unlocked. It opens when the book finds its witness." The woman stood. She was taller than she'd appeared seated. "I'm Lenore. I keep this branch." "Branch of what?" said Dahlia. "The library of unwritten books." Lenore gestured to the glowing shelves. "Every volume here is a story someone almost lived, a letter never sent, a child never born, a job offer never accepted, a confession never spoken. All the lives we brush past in the dark." Dahlia looked down at her book. Page 13 had filled in. "I rehearsed what I'd say to him for 6 years. He never knew my name." "This is mine," she whispered. "Yes." Lenore's voice softened. "It's been waiting for you for 11 years. Ever since you decided not to tell your father you loved him the last time you saw him. Ever since you didn't call your brother after the fight. Ever since you stood in the rain outside his apartment at midnight, and then walked away." Dahlia's throat closed. "That's private." "Private is the point. The library collects what never happens, and then, sometimes, it gives it back." Lenore slid a pen across the table. "You can sign the ledger and leave it here. Another unwritten story, safely shelved. Or, Dahlia questioned, "or you can take it home, read the rest, and choose to live it instead." The book had grown. Page 20 now. It read, "He sold the flower shop last spring. I'd planned to walk past it every day until I got the courage to go inside." "I can't go back," Dahlia said. 11 years. He's probably married. My father's dead. My brother lives in Portland and won't speak to me." Lenore tilted her head. "The library doesn't traffic in probability. It traffics in possibility. The question is, do you want your unwritten stories to remain unwritten?" Dahlia picked up the pen. Her hand hovered over the ledger. Then she closed the book, tucked it back into her pocket, and shook her head. "I want to write new ones." Lenore smiled. It was the first real expression Dahlia had seen on her face, and it transformed her. Then you understand. When Dahlia turned around, the door to the sub-basement was gone. She was standing in the main reading room, dawn light slanting through the tall windows, the scent of old paper and coffee in the air. The book in her pocket was warm. She pulled it out. Every page was blank again, except the last one, which held a single line in her own handwriting. Call your brother. Today. Dahlia laughed. It came out shaky and wet. She walked to the front desk, borrowed the payphone, they kept it for the old patrons, and dialed a number she'd memorized but never used. On the third ring, a man's voice said, "Hello?" She opened her mouth. The words that came out weren't from any unwritten book. They were brand new. "Hey, it's me. I'm sorry I waited so long." On the other end of the line, silence. Then a sound like a door opening. And somewhere in the sub-basement of the library, a story that had waited finally began. On a shelf of gold thread, a thin volume with a dust-colored spine flared once, bright as a struck match, and went still. It had finally been written.